sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.
Now in its 54th year of operation, this 2.5-mile, 12-turn circuit nestled into the mountains of Sears Point has almost 160 feet of elevation change from its lowest point to its highest, and in combination with its short straights and lack of heavy braking zones, passing always seems to be at a premium. And welcome everybody to Sonoma Raceway and week number 4 of the Ray Esports, all competing for the 3rd time this season. And if you're looking for some Spec Miata or Global MX-5 Cup action, don't worry. We're going to see them next week at Barber Motorsports Park. But don't turn off the camera, or don't turn off the YouTubes, don't turn off the TV. Stick with us. It's going to be a great night of racing here this evening. So welcome, DJ. Great to have you back after a well-deserved week off.
Thank you very much. It's good to be back here, and it's great to be around a track that can really only be described as a driver's delight. This is, Greg, one of my favorite tracks to go out and hot lap on. It really and truly rewards some aggression and some bravery and some fine-tooth driving as they go, and what these drivers can do. Although, as you said, it's more than a little difficult to overtake around here, and so I think the biggest way that we're going to see any passes get done is if a driver makes a little bit of a mistake and puts one wheel wrong.
Well, you know, if it weren't for the fact that the only time I've hot lapped Sonoma was in a Chevy Caprice rental car, I'd probably have higher thoughts of it. But it is actually, it's a very challenging track, and it really does have very good flow. I mean, the elevation changes, your hands are always moving. You don't get a lot of rest at this track. But you know, after a while, after a couple of laps, you can, you know, you don't want to close your eyes, but you can kind of feel your way around based on how the car reacts to the changes in camber and elevation and what have you. And you know, whether it's called Sears Point or its original name, or Infineon Raceway or Sonoma Raceway, tonight's venue is definitely going to be awfully tough on our drivers. And so to see how tough it's going to be, why don't we hand things over, DJ, to Morgan Burkhardt, who's going to keep
it tight and just maintenance throttle all the way around to get the car to rotate a little bit, and using all the track on the exit. And now we get a bit of a breather, as this track is incredibly busy. We're going to look just at this horizon over here, going to come just over the crest of the hill, hit the brakes, make this a double apex corner, maintenance throttle all the way through to get the car to rotate, coming out, using all of the road that we can, flowing as much speed as possible. And then this little chicane twisty section is almost but not quite flat out. You use the curbs to get the car unweighted and weighted and rotate it, and that's how you do it flat. Using as much track as we possibly can, just kind of flowing the car through here, minimal steering inputs, hard on the brakes just for a couple seconds, down a gear, as into the apex as quick as possible, dropping a little bit of a tire on the exit, not too bad, hard on the late apex, get as close to those tires as we can, shortest distance around the corner, throttle early and use that to rotate the car as we're coming out of the corner, exiting down this front straight here. And that is a completed lap at Sonoma Raceway for Ray Esports.
All right, thanks so much to Morgan Burkhardt for tonight's track guide of Sonoma Raceway. And in a DJ, you could almost hear it in Morgan. And you know, granted, he is only like 16 or 17, and maybe the pitch is a little high to begin with. But you know, he was definitely to describe what he was doing around this race course as he was hustling that GR86. He may have had a tough time of it in the GR86s, but as we're now over halfway through qualifying, actually somewhere along the lines of 24, 25 different Spec Miatas in that race, so he definitely can find his way around this track rather quickly. But he finds himself right now only about 100th of a second off of Charlie Vaccaro's time here, as they've both got 143.3s here, and things are pretty tight, as it looks like Vaccaro has just now taken his car back to the pits. I suspect that he probably is going to be calling it a session. Real quick before we wind things down here, as we're watching Megan Overstreet right now working her 5th flying lap here in qualifying, looking to improve upon the 143.68 that she just turned in. Let's quickly take a look at how we finished up in Spec Racer Fords, and I think we're also, since they're not racing tonight, we'll talk about the Spec Miatas as well. But the last time the Spec Racer Fords raced was 2 weeks ago at the Circuit of the Americas, home of the United States Formula One Grand Prix, where Morgan Burkhardt took the win. Murphy Nichols finished second. Beans Forster finished in third. And Overstreet, who we were just watching there a moment ago, rounding out the top 5. And the point standings here after they raced both at Circuit of the Americas and also our opening round. Morgan Burkhardt currently leading the field with 51 points. Megan Overstreet with 37, currently sitting in second after that, I think owing a lot to that run that she had at 1 for the Spec Racer Fords. And then we've got Jim Brewster and Beans Forster separated only by a single point. Brewster with 33. Josh Soto, who I think had started, and Josh Soto started 24th in the Spec Miata field, and he had managed to work his way up to 6th. I think he had made up like 12 positions on just the very first lap. And if we take a look at the points, again, very, very close here. Giancarlo Schooler with 46, Morgan Burkhardt 5 points back with 41. Then we've got Beans Forster with 35, and then it is a 3-driver tie for 4th position right now. Andrew Rosencroft, Lewis Lockshine, and Jim Brewster all have 25 points, with Deacon Greenfield sitting in 7th, just 3 points back from there. DJ, we're running down to the end of qualifying here, as the checkered flag is now out on the session. We just saw Morgan Burkhardt call off, increased his advantage over the rest of the field. He put in a 142.65 on that last flying lap, giving himself almost a quarter of a second advantage over Beans Forster. Charles Vaccaro, who is from the San Francisco area, raced all that much. We'll see here is, again, he's on his very last flying lap as the checkered flag has already been displayed. We've got a few drivers still out. And yeah, that's gonna end things for Josh Soto, obviously, as he gets it wrong going down into the hairpin, and little slick down there, and you have to obviously always be careful about weight transfer. And looks as though he just had the rear end walk around on him as he moved back from braking to maybe was still in the brake slightly, trying to get the nose to bite and turn in, and had the rear end walk away from him.
Yeah, that's a very easy thing to do, and that's a really easy thing to do across this entire circuit. It's a pretty slippery track surface here all the way around, and watch for some areas where drivers are going to have a little bit of problem on corner entry, like going down into that turn 11 hairpin. Also look for some loss of grip coming through this area that we watch Ray Blethen coming through right now, coming through the S's. Very, very easy to lose a little bit of lateral grip on the tires, especially if you mount up over those curbs, and if you get off into the dirt around the outside of this circuit, well, that's a one-way ticket to disaster.
Yeah, and it looks like Blethen, the session had already ended, and Blethen had already completed his last flying lap. But yeah, you see here, it looks like there's actually some grass growing through the dirt, but a lot of that sand and gravel and dirt gets pulled onto the track surface as well, that really creates some issues with grip. So DJ, let's take a look here. Here is our starting grid for our first race of the evening. It is Of course, Spec Racer Ford, and your pole sitter with a qualifying time of 1:42.652 is Morgan Burkhardt, with Beans Forster starting right next to him on the outside of row number 1. Then we've got Charles Vaccaro and Josh Soto. They'll start 3rd and 4th today, with Jim Brewster starting in 5th. Megan Overstreet trying to improve upon her 2nd place standings in the championship. She starts 6th today. Josh Justice will start in 7th. Trenton Kramer will start in 8th, with Andrew Wozencroft and Chris Montgomery rounding out the top 10.
In 11th, it's going to be Justin Huffman, followed by Deacon Greenfield in 12th. And behind them, it'll be Bradford Gould and Stevie Ray, then Bradford Gould. Then Stephen Blethen will line up 15th, followed by Mike Taylor. Then Joaquin Effinger and Raymond Blethen in 18th. 19th is Wayne Buttermore, and Caleb Patry will round out your 20-car grid.
Yeah, and interesting there to see the 198 machine not put a time in during qualifying. He's going to be starting from the back of the pack. Of course, we talk by visiting www.specracersports.com. And I don't know, maybe it's just me, DJ, but looks like whoever's behind the wheel of that Porsche 911 pace car, he's got his foot in it tonight. he was hauling down through the carousel and the tail end of the drag strip there. Looks like Burkhardt and Forster have finally managed to get up to him, and the rest of the field now you can see starting to form up here all the way to the back of the field, all 10 rows deep.
Yeah, very much having a good giddy up there for that Porsche pace car. But now as it works its way down through turns 9 and 10, it's about ready to pull off here, and we're about ready to get the green flag and go racing for this 20-minute race.
All right, pace car is on the pit lane, or on the entrance to the pit lane. Morgan Burkhardt now has the field. They're going to come around that last little left-hand bend, and then they will take the green flag, as it looks like Wayne Buttermore, he's kind of splitting the difference there, trying to catch up to the rest of the field. And there we go, green flag is in the air, and we are racing from Sonoma Raceway. Morgan Burkhardt in that green, white, and blue machine to the inside, driver's left, slots ahead of the rest of the field as they come through turn number 1, start to head up the hill towards turn number 2. Beans Forster slots back in after it looked like Vaccaro had gotten a real good start. He's going to fall back into 3rd, and Vaccaro already, he's under attack from Josh Soto, side by side right behind him. The orange number 933 of Jim Brewster, the purple 044 of Megan Overstreet, as Brewster gets the better of Overstreet coming down into 3 and 3A as they head down the hill through turn 4. Looked like we had a little bit of a slide there for a moment from Chris Montgomery. He gathers the car back up as they come down through the carousel for the first time, DJ.
And you're seeing just how aggressive these drivers are at the start of the race when everybody is bunched up. That is really a result of the difficulty of overtaking here. As we check a little farther back down in the field following Montgomery and Wozencroft right now, we jump on board with Wozencroft as he tries to maybe be able to get a little bit of a run here down into turn 7. Very, very wide angle up from the 444 of Trenton Kramer, but he's going to be able to keep it together, and they'll stay single file.
And this is where a lot of this becomes single file. You may see some attempts to outbreak going down into the hairpin there at turn number 11. But this whole section here, because of how many times it twists, how many times it turns, and how it is in many cases decreasing radius turns, you need to keep the front end of the car underneath you. You don't see many changes in position, and this early on, I would suspect that we wouldn't see many attempts to pass for position, unless somebody really got the hairpin wrong, DJ. You want to, especially in these short races, ensure that you don't have that front pack check out, but we're already sealed. Looks like Blethen maybe a little bit off the pace there, but Caleb Patry now has already made up 7 positions. We had a quick shot of him. There he is, coming out of turn 2 and starting to head down towards turn 3. Caleb Patry already up to 13th.
Yeah, up 7 positions on the day. A very impressive start to the race here for Patry. Now it's just a matter of not doing that, running a little bit wide on the exit of 3A. That'll catch you every time, and that's really a result there, Greg, of just getting on the throttle a hair too early, picking up a little little bit of understeer and it'll just drift the car out wide.
Yeah, and of course that turn is
Those extra half a second gaps that you're going to be able to pull out. That's exactly what they're doing. Is indeed the last lap of the race. Burkhardt set the fastest lap with a 142.50. Beans was right behind him with a 142.79. Everybody else running in the 143s behind them.
Yeah, and we can see in that second pack there, Josh Soto did manage to get around Charles Vaccaro on lap number 2, so move him up into 3rd position as and he's starting to open things up a little bit on Vaccaro. Vaccaro is really in danger of falling out of the draft, out of the slipstream here. Not that it's all that strong at Sonoma Raceway to begin with, and not that there are many places that you can do anything with it. DJ, because as you know, as we see here, especially as the drivers come out of turn 7 and start to taking a lot of curb there is Morgan Burkhardt.
I think that was a result of Josh Justice getting spun. I'm not sure if there was contact there, if he lost it on his own, but he was perpendicular to the track down through 7 and 7A.
And I think that was Chris Montgomery in the 313 machine along with them. Let's take a look and see exactly what happened. I was watching Burkhardt popping curbs going through the S's, but here they come as they came out of the carousel up to 7. And there you go. As you can see, Montgomery, I don't know if he was just being overly optimistic, if he missed his braking zone. He pulled to the inside, I think there at just the last moment he could, and unfortunately got into the side of Josh Justice.
And it also looks like here that Jim Brewster's had an issue. He was almost taking the old IndyCar layout down through the hairpin. Let's see what happened. He comes down into the braking zone here. Got a sneaking suspicion we're about to see some contact. That's not what I expected, Craig.
No, not at all. And that was, as we just saw there, coming through Charles Vaccaro, who had been up as high as 3rd, ended up impacting the wall coming out of the hairpin, and as he popped off the concrete, there was Jim Brewster to absorb the impact, and it sent him into the staging lanes to go and run the quarter mile. Fortunately, I don't think that Spec Racer Ford is set up to run the 1320 here tonight.
I don't think it is either, but I'll tell you what, he looked at the outside of Vaccaro right now, going down into turn 7, not going to play itself out. He's trying to make a move on.
Few drivers right just alongside where the mirror is, where he had the impact with Brewster, but yeah, otherwise the car looks to be in pretty good shape. Now, I'm also getting word that Ray Blethen had some issues. Blethen was back, I think, in the around 20th position. Let's take a look. I think we've got that queued up and we can see exactly what happened.
All right, as we jump back here for the replay, this is coming down into the carousel. Just too much speed into the corner, as simple as that. The rear end doesn't comply. It looks like that was another car there just kind of going off in sympathy with him there.
Yeah, and I'm trying to see who that might have been. Yeah, that might have been Joaquin Effinger that had gone wide. We'll take a look here, but look at this. Look at this, DJ. This is Caleb Patry, the 198 machine. He is now up into 6th position. You know, of course, a little bit of that has been helped by Charles Vaccaro's and Jim Brewster's tribulations here, but great run so far as Caleb Patry has made up 14 positions, and we're only working lap number 5.
Yeah, Caleb out here clearly trying to prove us wrong. When we say you can't overtake easily here at Sonoma, Caleb says, yeah, watch me, and is doing a great job. He may have another position there up in front of him. Trenton Kramer having a little bit of an issue coming off of the hairpin there, and that's going to allow for Caleb to put all kinds of pressure to the back of the 444.
Oh, and there he goes, and he slides right underneath the 444 as they come down through turn 1 and start to make the run up the hill towards turn 2. And so, DJ, I think this might be payback for us. So last week, when Tim Cox was here with me, we went to interview Caleb Patry after the GR86 race, and he said, talk to somebody who actually had an interesting race, because he jumped out to the lead almost immediately, opened up a gap, and I don't even think we showed him for more than like 20 seconds on the broadcast because he was all by himself. So tonight, I think, is where he realized that you know, if the sponsors want to get any love. He's going to have to start from the back of the field and work his way through the pack, and he's doing a great job of it so far.
Yeah, doing a fantastic job. And I'll tell you else who's doing a good job here. We've seen him kind of up and down through the field, but Andrew Lozencroft here seemingly always in the wars right now. He's working on Bradford Gould. This could get a little hairy here. He's able to get it together, but definitely he is on the attack here, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, indeed, and Jonathan just as we were switching that mode was telling us that Deacon Greenfield, driver of the number 36 machine, just had an off. He started in 12th position, now finds himself in 18th. Let's take a look. Jumps forward and the rear end comes around.
Exactly, and if you're used to seeing other cars around this circuit, GT3, GT4s, or even Cup cars that have occasionally gone down through the carousel there, you may be a little bit surprised, but remember, these Spec Racer 4s don't really have any rear downforce, and that carousel's a pretty quick corner, and so you're taking those speeds through there, and with the narrower tires on these Spec Racer 4s, they're just losing grip as they go down, so you've really got to keep that in mind here as a driver and make sure to properly slow the car down before you get into that left-hander.
Exactly. And it's just exacerbated by the fact that you've got the engine in the back. You don't have the aero downforce. You've got some weight back there, obviously, but when you get out of the brake pedal and all the weight then, or actually even if you get into the brakes late and the weight transfers forward, that rear end just starts to act like a pendulum and will go around on you.
Although I'll tell you what, Stevie Ray putting some good moves together there, getting a move done on Trenton Kramer as he's now going to move his way up into 6th place position. Thought for a second there that Trenton was going to have a little bit of a fight back coming into turn 1. I think Stevie's got this one in the bag.
There you go. And Trenton Kramer, he's still one position to the good. He started off in 8th, is currently running in 7th, but he's had Patry go by on the run, and Stevie Ray, who started in 13th position, now finds himself all the way up into 6th as he continues his march. He's only about 3.5 seconds behind Patry, as you can see, as Patry rounds turn 5 and heads down into the carousel.
And here he comes, just trying to be able to keep up a little bit of pressure. We're going to jump back up to the lead of the race here because with 7 minutes to go, despite the gap being might, and normally I would sort of give the advice here to Beans, not that he needs it, but the commentator's advice, let's say, of trying to pressure Burkhardt into a little bit of a mistake, poking your nose this way and that to see if he's able to force an error out of that number 40. But Morgan's been running such a crystal clear, perfect race at this point that I don't think he is really in a position to make that mistake, and I think the impetus here is on Beans to go for the overtake.
Yeah, exactly. We've seen where Burkhardt might take a little bit extra curb. We saw there just a moment ago coming out of 3A where he put a couple wheels in the dirt, but he had the car completely squared up when he did it. He didn't really have any risk of putting the car around when he went in there. And Forster's been, again, he's been holding tight. I think he's been using that draft to stay somewhat close. But we've also seen here, DJ, as they come through turn 7 and start to make their way through the S's, this is where Burkhardt typically opens up about an extra half a car length. And that, in many cases, could be all that it takes as they come down through the kink at turn 10 and then under braking down into the hairpin. There he goes. We can see they go through that incredibly fast right-hander behind the drag strip tower and then get hard under the brakes. And Forster managed to make up some ground there. And you can see he's got the nose right underneath the back of the 40 machine. But as he does, Burkhardt is able to just kind of power out of there and open things back up to a car length and a half.
Yeah, and it looked like Beans there maybe testing a little bit on the brakes, seeing how much later he could brake over Morgan going down into that final corner, that final hairpin. That's at least what I think he'd do. He's also able to carry some good speed there coming up through turn 2. So he's clearly got the edge here, I think, in the braking zone, and that's going to be some of the calculus here that Beans is doing, trying to get...
Started to come underneath him, and for whatever reason, as maybe Stevie Ray pinched him a little bit, coming into that second apex, Stevie Ray was able to get a better run and hold off the blue number 444.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, though, that 444, though, is coming on strong here. Oh, lost a little bit of momentum there coming through turn 10.
And a brake lock up from Stevie Ray. He runs deep, and the 444 comes through. They're side by side coming through the hairpin at turn 11. Stevie Ray, he's got position, and look at this as Wozencroft's going to try to push the number 11 of Stevie Ray through. Cannot get underneath the 444, however, and they are still side by side going up that 160-foot rise into turn number 1. And Wozencroft just doesn't. Wozencroft, as he sees those two fighting, DJ, and side by side there's nowhere, absolutely nowhere to put that number 80 machine.
Oh, and that was Gould behind, getting things wrong, and I think
that's, yeah, exactly, as Gould had the rear end step out, coming over the crest of the hill, and the 223 machine of Justin Huff, Bradford Gould. Let's take a look and see how it happened.
I think, here we go, rising up the hill. He takes a look down to the inside of Wozencroft, and there's contact there. He was just a little bit too over-aggressive. You've got to feel bad for Huffman there. He just had nowhere to go.
Yeah. All right, let's take a look and see here, because I think we could take a look through the eyes of Justin Huffman in the 220.